Her mate was dead. She had nothing left than a human. Did the unthinkable asterisk when Earth's first ambassador was captured by the Alari matriarchy? Everyone expected torture, but what he got was an invitation. Naked beneath silken veils and guarded by warriors, Princess Valerie needed something only a human could give, and it wasn't peace talks, because it turns out, among the stars. Humanity is blessed in ways no alien male ever was. Jack Rourke didn't know whether to laugh or sweat when they dragged him into the royal chamber. He'd been in war zones, survived pirate attacks, even once crash-landed on a lava moon. But none of that prepared him for this. He stood there, wrists still cuffed, shirt torn from his escape pod crash, facing a tall alien woman lounging across a throne of black crystal. Princess Valerie, 8 feet tall, skin a faint shimmer of violet gold, silver eyes glowing under a crown of living thorns. She didn't blink. She didn't speak. She just looked at him. Like a predator who'd finally caught the one prey she'd never tasted. The guards left in silence. The doors sealed, and came the sound soft, low, like silk dragging over skin. Valerie stood. 1 step. 2. Her robe slipped slightly from her shoulder, exposing skin that shimmered like starlight over water. She moved like heat slow. Sure, dangerous. "You're smaller than I imagined," she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. First time I've heard that. That earned the smallest tilt of her lips. Not a smile, but close. "They told me humans were soft, fragile, primitive," she said, circling him like a huntress. "But they didn't mention the details." Her gaze dropped. Jack shifted, uncomfortable and aroused all at once. "Look, if this is some kind of interrogation, I gotta say, your methods are unexpected." She stopped behind him, voice brushing the back of his neck. "I don't want your secrets. I want to test you." Jack swallowed. "Test me?" "I've been through 47 royal mating trials," she said, stepping around him again. "Every male failed. They were weak, predictable, boring, and my body rejected them. Sounds like a tough dating pool." Her fingers reached up, tracing the scar across his jaw. "You're not from the pool. You're from the wild, untamed, improper, and maybe exactly what I need." Jack didn't move. "Why me?" "Because," she said, "you resisted capture for 3 hours. Broke one of my warrior's ribs, bit another. She hit me first. I liked that." She moved closer, too close. Jack could smell her skin like ozone and crushed roses. Her breath touched his throat. "They said human males are overgrown, that you carry more heat, more stamina, that your organs, ... are incompatible with Alari. But my instincts don't agree." Jack blinked. "Your instincts?" "Burned through every eligible Alari and allied noble." Her voice dropped, smoky and hungry. "But when they brought you in, bloodied and furious, something in me shifted. My skin flushed. My breath shortened. I haven't reacted like that since my second cycle." Jack frowned. "I'm gonna need a translator for that one." She leaned in, lips brushing his ear. "It means I'm in heat. And for the first time in a decade, my body wants." Jack was half terrified, half turned on, and 100% confused. "So what?"
"Ow!"
"You want to run some cross-species experiment?" "No." She stepped back. "I want to feel." She reached for a control rune, and Jack's cuffs unlocked with a soft click. He rubbed his wrists, unsure what came next. "You can fight me," she said, undoing the rest of her robe. "You can try to run, but you won't. And why's that?" Valerie smiled, slow and dangerous, and stepped into the light. Her body was powerful long limbs, taut muscle, glowing tattoos pulsing across her hips. But it wasn't just her form, it was her confidence, her hunger. Jack's breath caught. "Oh, damn." She raised a brow. "That's the spirit." Then she walked up to him, gripped his shirt, and yanked. It tore easily, revealing the thick muscles of his chest. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but fascination. "You're not like the others," she whispered. "I get that a lot. Without warning, she licked a small cut on his shoulder. Her tongue shimmered, leaving a trail of warmth that made Jack shudder. Then she looked up. Her lips stained red and whispered with a dark smile, "You'll do." And that's when Jack realized this wasn't a negotiation. This was a mating ritual, and he had just been claimed. Jack didn't know what shocked him more, that he wasn't in a cell, that a royal alien princess had just licked blood from his shoulder like it was dessert. She hadn't moved away. She stood close, so close that their breath mingled in the warm air of her chamber. His heart was pounding like a war drum, and she could probably hear it. Valari tilted her head. "Your scent is unfamiliar, spiced, rough. You taste like salt and metal." She touched her tongue to her lip again. "I like it." Jack blinked, still shirtless, still very much aware of the way her gaze kept dipping lower. Do all Alari princesses invite prisoners to strip down and sweat in their boudoirs? Or am I just lucky? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she moved to a low table and poured a glass of something amber and thick. Steam curled up from it. She held it out to him. He took it, hesitated. "This is gonna knock me out or make me see colors." "Neither." It balances body temperature and reduces friction. "In case we begin ... physical contact?" He nearly choked. "You're very direct." "I'm royal," she said, sitting with her legs crossed, her robe draped loosely across her body now. "We don't pretend." Jack drank. It tasted like fire and cinnamon had a baby in his throat. Valari studied him. "Haven't asked what happened to the last male I invited here?" He set the glass down. Didn't want to kill the mood. "I broke his hip," she said calmly. "Then his ego." Jack whistled softly. Tough crowd. Her lips twitched. He bragged about his stamina. "I didn't even finish warming up." Jack scratched the back of his neck. "Well, I don't know how long humans last compared to... whatever you've got out here. But I'm no amateur." Her eyes locked onto his. "You fought a pack of armored sentries. With a broken comlink. Then escaped capture twice before my guards finally dragged you in. You bleed easy, but you don't give up." "I'm stubborn," Jack admitted. "And I didn't like the idea of being turned into some science project." She stood again and walked toward him. "Still think this is a science project?" He looked down. Her hands brushed his chest, testing slow. Her fingers lingered on a scar near his ribs. "Grenade shard," he muttered. She touched another. Mark on his shoulder. Burn. Atmospheric entry. Bad landing. Real bad day. Then her hand dropped. ... Lower. Jack tensed. "You do know humans are rebuilt differently down there, right?" "I've heard the rumors," Valari said, eyes glittering with curiosity. "But I don't trust rumors." She traced the line of his belt slowly. Jack cleared his throat. "And what exactly is this test of yours supposed to measure?" She leaned in, voice velvet soft. "Compatibility, endurance, fertility." His eyebrows shot up. That escalated fast. "You call it fast," she said, brushing her lips near his jaw. "But I've waited years. Dozens of candidates. Dozens. Of failures. And you think I'll succeed just because I'm human?" "No," she said. "I think you'll succeed because you haven't run." Jack was quiet. She pulled back slightly. "You don't fear me?" "Oh, I'm terrified," he said, trying not to stare at the curve of her hips. "But I'm also... interested." Valari turned and walked to her bed, a massive low platform of woven vines and soft iridescent sheets. She sat, letting her robe fall open just enough to reveal skin so smooth it glowed. "I could order you," she said softly, "but I won't. Come to me if you want to. If not, I'll call the guards." Jack stood frozen for a beat. He could say no, could play it safe, keep his diplomatic dignity, demand to speak with her mother, ask to contact Earth Command. He could do what every nerve in his body was screaming to do. He stepped forward. She watched him carefully, no smile, just fire in her eyes. Jack reached the bed. He climbed onto it, not on top of her, just beside her, close. His fingers hovered over her shoulder, then gently touched her skin. She inhaled slow and sharp, Still want that test?" he asked, more than ever. He leaned in. "Then maybe we both need to fail a little first." She gave him a look he couldn't read, half challenge, half hunger. Then, carefully she touched his chest and guided his hand to her waist. Her skin was hot, literally. Alari ran hotter than humans, and her pulse, it was fast, like she was just as nervous as he was. Jack smiled. "So, no safe word." "We're way past safety," she murmured, and then slowly, without orders, without ceremony. Two bodies from different worlds came together, not for war, not for power, but for something ancient, primal, and electric. What started as a test was about to become something neither of them expected. And outside that chamber, the Empire waited. Because if a human truly could satisfy an Alari princess, the galaxy was about to change forever. The next morning, Jack woke to warmth and silence. For the first time since he crash-landed, he wasn't sore from sleeping on metal. He wasn't cold. He wasn't alone. Valerie lay beside him, half covered in glowing silk, one leg draped lazily over his. Her skin shimmered faintly in the low chamber light, like embers underwater. Her hair was a mess wild, silver strands across his chest and neck, but her breathing was calm, steady, peaceful. For a second, Jack thought he might still be dreaming. Then, she stirred. Without opening her eyes, she said, "You're still here." He chuckled. Didn't feel like making a run for it. "I figured you'd bolt the moment I slept. I figured you'd bite me if I tried." She cracked one eye open and smiled. Not her usual smirk, the kind of smile that made Jack feel like she wasn't just looking at him, but into him. Valari stretched. Every movement was fluid, feline. The sheets slid down, revealing more smooth skin, more dangerous curves. "You didn't break," she said thoughtfully. "Most Alari males start begging for mercy halfway through the second cycle. Humans build different," Jack said, grinning. "Endurance is kind of our thing." She looked at him, then truly looked. "It wasn't just your body," she said, voice softer than he'd heard before. "It was how you moved, how you listened. I wasn't trying to conquer you. No, you met me as an equal." She paused, expression unreadable. "It's the first time I've ever felt that." Jack sat up slowly, grabbing what was left of his torn shirt and slipping it on. "So, ... what happens now? Do I get tossed back in a cell? Or do we pretend this was a fever dream?" Fleury didn't answer. Instead, she stood, walked to a small panel near the far wall, and activated a holoscreen. Glowing medical data hovered in the air charts, vitals, pulsing diagnostics. Jack frowned. "That me?" "No. Me. Duh." He stood beside her. The scan showed Alari vitals, elevated hormone levels, neural spikes. A glowing marker blinked near her. Lower abdomen. Jack stared at it. "Is that ... what I think it is?" Her silence was answer enough. Wait, he said, running a hand through his hair. "You're saying I withe it fast?" "It's not confirmed," she said. Quickly. "But the signs are strong and impossible," Jack swallowed. "Cross-species conception has never worked before. Not with Alari," she corrected. "Our bodies reject incompatible seed within minutes. But mine didn't reject you." There was a long pause. Then Jack said, "Well, I always said my swimmers were Olympic grade." Valari rolled her eyes, but couldn't hide the flicker of a smile. "This is serious," she said, crossing her arms. "If the High Matriarch finds out, she'll terminate the gestation. I'll be declared compromised." "Compromised?" Jack barked. "You're pregnant, not defective?" "An Alarian. There's no difference." He stared at her. "So what?" "They'd force an abortion because the baby's half human. They'd call it purging a genetic anomaly," she said coldly. "And you would disappear." Jack's fists clenched. "Let them try. You don't understand." "No, you don't." His voice hardened. "Where I come from, if someone threatens your child, you don't debate it. You defend them." Valerie blinked, thrown off by the sudden fire in his voice. But instead of arguing, she stepped closer. Her hands touched his chest. "You'd protect. Something that isn't even confirmed yet." "I'd protect you too," he said. "You didn't use me, you didn't lie. You risked your position to treat me like more than just some lab rat. That counts for something. She exhaled slowly, forehead resting against his. Then a sharp chime echoed from the doorway. Valerie's eyes snapped open. Guards, incoming. She pulled back fast, tapping another rune. The bed auto-folded into the floor. Sheets burned. Clean, in a flash of violet fire. Jack was handed a fresh tunic tight, definitely made for someone taller. Get dressed. Sit on the meditation bench. Don't speak unless I signal. Jack did as he was told, barely finished pulling it over his head when the chamber doors slid open. 3 high-ranked guards stepped in, followed by a tall figure in black armor. The air chilled instantly. Valari stood with her back straight, expression locked in regal calm. The armored figure bowed slightly. High Strategist Verne, by order of the matriarch. Speak, Valari said. Verne's visor retracted, revealing a pale, thin face marked by tattoos of lineage and command. His eyes scanned the room, stopping on Jack for only a second before returning to the princess. There are rumors, he said, that the human prisoner was not sent to the lower cells. Valari didn't blink. He is understudy, as per royal directive. Some say he is being bred. She tilted her head. Then they mistake me for livestock, Var narrowed. His eyes, the court will demand verification. The last thing the matriarch needs is a scandal during the succession rites. Valari walked to Jack and placed her hand calmly on his shoulder. The human remains under my authority. If the court has questions, they may ask me directly. Varn's jaw twitched, but he bowed again and left. Once the doors closed, Jack let out the breath he'd been holding. That guy's definitely not invited to the baby shower. Valari snorted. He's my mother's personal enforcer. Great, so the mother-in-law's gonna love me. She looked at him, not laughing now. We need to leave. The scan data leaks, they'll sterilize both of us. Jack frowned. And go where? There's a rogue port on the edge of the sector belt. If we reach it, we can contact your people or find allies willing to hide us. He nodded. I've got friends who owe me favors, mercs, traders, smugglers, the usual suspects. She raised a brow. And here I thought I was the dangerous one. Jack stepped forward. Let me be clear, I didn't plan on any of this. But I'm in, all the way. You, the baby, whatever comes next. What? Valari stared at him a long time. Then she whispered, You're different. Not just your body, not just your heat, you choose loyalty. Even when it costs you. He touched her cheek gently. Then let's make the choice together. That night, they made love again, but slower this time, not like a challenge. Not like a test. Like 2 people learning each other for real. And in that quiet, glowing chamber, 2 hearts from different worlds began to beat in sync. The future was uncertain. The Empire was watching. But for now, they had each other. And that was enough to begin. Asterisk, the escape didn't go quietly. By the time the chamber firewalls were bypassed, Jack had already overpowered 2 guards with nothing but a metal tray and a stolen plasma cuff. Valera, despite her station, fought like someone who'd earned her title, not inherited it. Her fists moved like thunder, her strikes deliberate. Together, they made it out of the palace's inner dome, with alarms screaming behind them, and an emergency lockdown echoing through every hallway. Jack panted as they ducked into a maintenance tunnel beneath the outer garden terraces. So, just a quiet walk to the shuttle bay, huh? Valari hissed in pain, holding her side. You're the one who headbutted the commandant. He touched you. I needed him distracted, not unconscious. I regret nothing, Jack. Muttered. She didn't argue. She pulled him farther into the shadows. They navigated the tunnels for hours, passing through corridors lit only by dying light strips. At one point, they came across a worker drone. Jack raised a wrench to silence it, but Valerie stepped in, whispered something in her language, and the drone turned away. How'd you do that? Jack asked. I built this network, she said, breath short. The drones know me. I didn't know royalty did manual labor. They don't. I wasn't always royalty. There was a pause. Jack didn't push. He knew the kind of pain that lived in stories like that. Eventually, they reached the edge of the southern launch grid. Hidden beneath a cargo tarp was a sleek, black skiff registered, untracked, and fast. Jack whistled. "Is that yours?" "My escape plan, in case I ever lost control." He smirked. "You planned for a future where things went to hell?" She looked at him, deadly serious. "I live in a palace full of vipers. The only surprise is how long it took." They boarded fast. Jack powered up the skiff, while Valari secured the lock behind them. As they lifted off, the palace's defense grid lit up. Jack pulled hard on the thrusters, sending the ship into a near-vertical ascent. "We've got 3 minutes before they target the engine core," Valari warned. "Well, then," Jack said, grinning, "let's see what this baby can do." The skiff shot forward like a missile, skimming the atmosphere. Turrets fired lasers flashing past the hull like lightning. One bolt scorched the starboard wing. Jack didn't flinch, just a scratch. Valari clutched the console. That was the fuel intake. Jack tilted the ship, reversed boosters, and dumped a false signal beacon. The incoming missiles locked onto the decoy and exploded harmlessly into the clouds. The stars opened up. They were free. Inside the ship, the silence felt heavy. It's a kind of silence that only comes after chaos. Jack let out a long breath and leaned. "Back in the pilot's seat, you good?" he asked. Valerie stood beside him, her face combat pale. Sweat gleamed along her collarbone. Dizzy," she admitted. "Pregnancy side effect?" "No, energy crash. I haven't fed properly in days. My body's shifting, the bonding. It's accelerating everything." Jack stood and gently took her hand. "Come with me." He led her to the private cabin behind the bridge. Small, warm, and surprisingly soft for a stolen ship. He pulled open a locker and retrieved to ration-packed standard human field meals. "Not fancy," said, "but they'll keep you standing." She opened one, sniffed it, and made a face. "Smells like ... regret. Welcome to human cuisine." They sat close on the cot. She chewed slowly. Jack watched her, the sharp lines of her face now slightly softer. Her body, usually tense, seemed looser. More human somehow. "You're risking your life for me," she said suddenly. He shrugged. "Seems fair. You risked your kingdom for me. You barely knew me. I knew enough." She turned to him. What did you see?" He reached out and tucked a strand of silver hair behind her ear. A woman who didn't flinch when the galaxy turned against her. A warrior who didn't beg. A leader who could have ordered me to kneel, but asked instead. Her lips parted slightly. "I don't know how to be soft, Jack. I was trained to dominate. To win, you don't have to win with me," he said gently. "Just stay." Their kiss started slow and like before. No heat, no fire. Just lips meeting in silence. A promise between breaths. His hands touched her waist, her back, her ribs. This time she didn't lead. She let him explore, let him hold her like something precious, not fragile, but valued. When they lay down together, skin to skin, it wasn't about need, it was about choice. He whispered things she didn't understand, Earth's words full of tenderness. She answered in a Lari, voice low and sweet. They didn't rush. It's every touch, every kiss was an act of learning, of building trust. Afterward, she lay curled into him, her fingers tracing circles on his chest. "You make me feel like I'm not broken," she whispered. "You're not," he said. "You're becoming." She closed her eyes. "This baby lives. The matriarchy will hunt us forever." "Then we keep running," Jack said, "and we raise a child that'll never bow to anyone." Oh. She smiled softly, tears threatening. "That's not very diplomatic." "Good," Jack said. "I'm not a diplomat. I'm a stubborn, overbuilt human with a grudge and a tool belt." She laughed for the first time, a real laugh. And Jack knew, no matter what came next, he wasn't going back. Not to Earth, not to peace talks, not without her. Somewhere out there, the stars were watching. And for the first time, one of their own had fallen for a human. But this wasn't just a romance. It was the beginning of something the galaxy didn't know how to name yet. Family, Asterisk, the stars looked peaceful. They always did, from inside a fast-moving skiff. Like nothing was hunting you. Like kingdoms weren't collapsing. Like royal bloodlines weren't being rewritten in real time because of one night with a human. But Jack knew better. He sat in the pilot's seat, bare feet on the dash, staring out at the void. He wasn't a philosopher, but something about the silence out here made a man think deep thoughts. About life, about consequences, about what the hell he'd just gotten himself into. Behind him, in the tiny sleeping cabin, Valari slept soundly for the first time in weeks. Jack could hear her breathing. He couldn't stop listening to it. He'd seen her bleed. He'd seen her fight. He'd seen her body burn with desire and then shiver from vulnerability. But now, she was soft. Curled on her side, one hand resting lightly over her lower abdomen, the spot where something might be growing. Jack wasn't a father. Hell, he barely kept his plants alive back home, but this was different. Bigger. He'd seen his DNA break encryption codes and confuse alien scanners. But creating life with another species? That wasn't just biology, that was a miracle. The ship's proximity alarm chirped. Jack's eyes narrowed. A blip on the scanner. 2 ships. No, 3. Fast ones. No ID signatures. No warning beacons. Damn it, he muttered, sitting up. He keyed in a manual evasive routine. Throttled the auxiliary engines and angled them toward a nearby asteroid belt. The ship rocked slightly. Valeri's voice came from behind. "They found us." Jack didn't turn. "If I say no, will you go back to sleep?" She padded up beside him, still wrapped in a loose cloak, hair a soft mess. She didn't look like royalty now. She looked like someone real. Raw, her hand touched his arm. "Who are they? Not royal guards? Smaller ships? No official tags. Probably bounty hunters." Valari frowned, which means the court issued a silent order. "Price on your head?" "Yes." "Not mine." She looked at him. "Ours." Jack cursed. "They want the kid? Or proof of the hybrid? Or both?" He didn't hesitate. "No. Then we don't let them have either." The ship bucked again as they dove into the asteroid field. Jack maneuvered fast, sliding between massive rocks. Using the debris to block long-range scans, Valari dropped into the co-pilot seat. "What's the plan?" "Outfly them, lose them in the drift, and signal an old contact, someone who won't sell us out." "You trust them?" Jack cracked a grin. "I trust him more than I trust politicians. Remind me to thank him." With a plasma grenade. The bounty ships followed 2 behind, 1 ahead, trying to flank them. Jack cut all known essential power and ran cold. The ship drifted, barely alive. Hiding behind a tumbling slab of space rock the size of a city block, silence. Then, one of the pursuers overshot. Jack waited. Valari whispered, "Now." He hit the engine burst. The skiff roared to life, flipping upward, engine screaming. The nearest bounty ship clipped a rock and exploded in a flash of fire and smoke. The others hesitated. And in that hesitation, Jack vanished. They re-emerged hours later. Far beyond the asteroid belt, engines cooling in the wake of emergency burn. Jack leaned back, sweat trickling down his neck. "You still with me?" he asked. Valeri's hand slid into his. "Always." They jumped again, this time toward a rogue outpost orbiting a dead star. No authorities, no laws, just trade, tech, and trouble. The outpost was run down, dark, and smelled like stale air and bad decisions. But it was safe for now. They docked and disembarked. Valari wore a cloak with a low hood. Jack carried a pulse pistol under his jacket. They met the contact in a smoke-filled bar carved into the station's inner ring. He was human barely, covered in cybernetic implants and old tattoos. His eyes scanned them both. Then he leaned back. "Jack Rourke," he said. "The hell kind of trouble did you step in now?" "The royal kind," Jack replied. The man's cyber eyes flicked to Valari. "She's taller than you described. She's also pregnant," Jack said. That shut him up. The man coughed. "Well, damn, you do know how to piss off a government." "She's carrying something new," Jack said. "Half human, half Alari. And if we don't disappear, They'll take it. The man nodded slowly. I know a place. Deep orbit, tech-free zone. You could go dark for a while. Jack glanced at Valari. She gave the faintest nod. They bought supplies, food, medical gear, and one more thing. A full DNA-grade pregnancy scanner. Back on the ship, in silence, Jack activated it. He held her hand the whole time. The screen flashed. One heartbeat, strong, steady, and another one smaller. Faster, Valari gasped softly. Her fingers dug into his. Jack stared. 2 heartbeats. She swallowed. Alari embryos. Develop in twin patterns, you mean? We're having 2. Her lip trembled. It's real. They're alive. Jack sat back, stunned. He reached up and pulled her into his arms. Then we protect them no matter what. She held him tighter than ever. We're not just lovers now. No, Jack whispered. We're parents. The stars outside were still burning, but now Jack didn't fear them because he had something worth fighting for. Not a mission, not a medal, a mate, a home, a future, and the galaxy wasn't ready for what came next. Asterisk. They didn't make it to the dark zone. Not in time. 3 days into their hiding in the outer orbit of a rogue mining moon, the first signs came. Not ships, not missiles. Broadcasts, encrypted channels all lit up at once, smuggler routes, bounty boards, even old Alliance fleet radio. Every signal carried the same message. Unregistered cross-species pregnancy confirmed. Royal bloodline compromised. Subject Valari and human Jack Rourke classified as genetic fugitives. Immediate retrieval requested. Alive if possible. Jack stared at the screen, jaw clenched. They made it public. Valari stood behind him, cloak wrapped tight around her middle, her eyes hard with fury. They want others to do their dirty work. He turned to her. How the hell did they get the scan data? Her face darkened. Someone on the outpost. The scan was clean, but the medbed likely pinged the network. Jack cursed. Lured us into confirming it. Now they've put a price on our children. Valari didn't move. She simply reached down and rested her hand across her abdomen. Her fingers trembled, but her voice did not. Then we make a choice, she said. We stop running, or we disappear forever. Jack stood slowly, walked across the cabin, and pulled her close. Her body, always so strong, felt warmer now, softer. Her heartbeat pulsed through her chest, echoed now by 2 tiny lives growing inside her. We've run far enough, he said. Let's show them what it means to threaten a human father. She looked up, and an Alari mother. Their lips met, made with heat, but with purpose. That night, they made love again, but slower than before. Valari's movements were gentler, more deliberate. Jack kissed the growing swell of her belly. She whispered to him in Alari between sighs. He answered in Earth slang. She couldn't fully understand, but she laughed anyway. Not out of amusement, but out of trust. Afterward, they lay tangled together, skin slick with sweat, limbs folded like roots intertwining. Jack held her while she traced the edge of one of his old scars. You always smell like iron, she whispered. You always taste like starlight, he replied. She smiled. I don't know what that means. He grinned. Neither do I. The next day, the call came. Not from a bounty hunter, not from an ally. From her mother. Asterisk, the cum burst to life with a hiss. A live channel direct. Valari's spine went rigid. Her fingers clenched the console as the image sharpened. There she was, the High Matriarch. Of the Alari, old, beautiful, cold as blackstone. Her voice echoed like ice in a cave. Daughter? Valari didn't answer. The matriarch continued. I gave you freedom, rank, power, and you lay with this. A primitive with flesh instead of destiny. Jack raised an eyebrow. Hi, Mom. Asterisk, the matriarch's gaze didn't flinch. You'll bring the children to Alarian. They will be harvested. Their traits cataloged, your violation will be erased. Alari stepped forward, voice steady. No. A pause. Then we will burn every moon you hide behind. The channel cut, silence filled the ship. Then Jack turned to her. She's bluffing. No, Valari said. They moved fast. By nightfall, Jack had finished rewiring the skiffs, core modifying it for low-signature silent jumps. Valari mapped 3 possible routes, 2 friendly, 1 suicidal. Jack chose the suicidal one. Why? She asked. He grinned. Because they'll never expect it. They jumped into the storm fields of Krathos 9, a gas giant wrapped in electric. Hurricanes, radiation levels, scrambled scans. Even Alari patrols refused to chase ships into its atmosphere. They docked at a hidden station run by rogue AI, abandoned by both humans and Alari decades ago. It wasn't safe, but it was empty. Jack started setting up signal jammers. While Valerie reconfigured the medbed for isolation protocols, Jack, she said quietly. He turned. I don't want them born in fear. He walked to her, brushing a lock of silver. Hair behind her ear? Then let's change the story. She touched her stomach. I feel them now. Every hour. They respond to your voice. Jack smiled. Get used to it, kids. I talk a lot. She laughed, then gasped, grabbing his hand. Was that? Valari nodded. They kicked. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He pressed his hand too. Her belly again, then again there. The tiniest tap. He didn't know what to say, so he kissed her. Instead, no words. No promises. Just a man holding the most precious thing he never expected to want. A family. That night, they set up defenses. Automated flares. Sensor scramblers. Valari taught Jack how to code in Alari script. While he taught her how to hotwire a cargo loader using a spoon, she told him stories of her youth-lonely halls. Training fights, tutors who taught her to command but never to love. He told her about Earth's sunsets. Barbecue, motor oil, family, you'll like it there, he said. Someday, will they accept me? Once they see you in a flight suit, and 6 months pregnant? Oh yeah, you'll be the most feared soccer mom in the galaxy. She laughed until she cried, and when the tears stopped, he held her, but deep. Inside, Jack knew, the matriarchy wouldn't stop, not until they had the children. They'd burned planets for less. But Jack Rourke had fought wars. This time, he wasn't fighting for duty. He was fighting for his future, and there was no stronger force in the universe than a human with something to protect. Asterisk, the storm came with no warning. One moment. The next, the sky lit up like a god had struck a match. Electricity danced across the edges of Krathos 9's atmosphere, and in its blazing center 3 ships broke through the clouds, sleek, silver, silent. Alari, reclaimers, not bounty hunters, not patrols. These were extraction vessels built for precision raids, not negotiations. Inside the command chamber, Valerie's hand shot to her belly. The twins had stirred again, this time with panic. Their heartbeats fluttered on the medbeds. Scream like frightened birds. They've come, she said. Jack was already strapping on his vest, sliding a plasma pistol into the holster. Too soon? We were supposed to have another week. They must have jumped with restricted matriarchal clearance, she muttered, her voice low and hard. No beacons, no scans. They want us dead or erased quietly. She pulled her long cloak over her shoulders and lifted the reinforced pulse rifle he'd gifted her 2 days ago. He'd named it Homewrecker. She'd laughed when she saw it now. Her smile was gone. Jack glanced at the monitor. Reclaimers were fast landing. Sequence in under 120 seconds. We don't have enough firepower to hold them off. We're not holding, Valari said. We're evacuating. He stared at her. Where? She stepped to the panel, opened a secure bay beneath the medbed, and pulled out a capsule no bigger than a duffel bag. Automated pod, shielded. No heat signature. It's designed to eject through the coolant shaft. Just big enough for the gestation chamber and basic life support. You're putting our babies in a torpedo tube? Only if you promise to shoot them out after I launch the beacon? Jack's face tightened. You're not coming with them? I can't. They'll scan for adult biosigns. But the pod. They won't know it's carrying life until it's too far. No, he said flatly. You have to know, Jack repeated, grabbing her by the shoulders. You don't get to sacrifice yourself while I live with the guilt. That's not how this ends. Her eyes flashed. Then how does it end, Jack? Pulled her in, kissed her, and in that kiss, everything passed between them. Fear, fury, heartbreak, hope. He pulled back. We do this together, or not at all. She stared at him for a long, still second. Then slowly, she nodded. They moved fast. Valari prepped the pod while Jack rerouted all ship power to the external turret ring. As the first Reclaimer ship landed, kicking up dust and ash from the storm planes, Jack activated the defense grid. A hail of plasma bolts slammed into the enemy's forward hull. It wasn't enough to destroy, but it slowed them inside the ship. Valari lowered the twins still in utero, still pulsing with tiny life into the stasis cushion inside the pod. She leaned down, kissed the smooth glass panel, and whispered, "We'll find you again." Jack sealed the chamber and handed her the launch beacon. Timed signal? She asked. He nodded. 10 minutes? The pod will fire automatically and broadcast only once it clears orbit and us. We hold them as long as we can. They stood side by side as the Reclaimer troops breached the outer hatch. The first wave came fast. 3 elite soldiers in silver armor, neural stun batons in hand. Jack dropped the first with a headshot. Valari ripped the second's weapon away and used it to break his helmet. The third lunged for the med chamber, but Jack tackled him mid-dash stride. They kept coming. 5, 10, 12, but Jack and Valari didn't give ground. Their bodies moved in rhythm, him guarding her left, her sweeping his blind side. They bled, they burned, but they never backed down. Then the floor shook. The matriarch herself stepped through the smoke. Not a hologram this time, in the flesh. She wore ceremonial battle robes, black with red trim. Her silver staff crackled with ionic energy. And behind her, a cadre of red-armored royal enforcers. "You should have obeyed," she said, staring down her daughter. "You've doomed your bloodline." Valari stepped forward, bruised, bloodied, glorious. "I am the bloodline now." The matriarch raised her staff. "Then you die with your beast." Jack stepped beside her, eyes blazing. Valari turned slightly toward him, then whispered, "Hold your breath." "What?" She reached into her belt and tapped the beacon. The room lit with blue fire. Jack felt his stomach twist. The gravitational pull of the emergency launch system igniting behind them. Then came a sharp whoosh, a blinding flash, and the sound of air being torn in two. The pod launched, straight up through the shaft, silent, unseen. Their children were gone. "And safe," the matriarch screamed. Valari grinned. That was the last thing Jack remembered before the detonation. A split second later, he and Valari were flung backward, wrapped in the emergency dampeners of the escape rig. The self-destruct didn't kill the Reclaimers, but it blinded their scans by the time the dust cleared. Jack and Valari were going to carried through a hidden vent into the storm-churned sky of Krathos. A week later, deep in the edge of the galactic rim, a rogue freighter picked up a drifting pod. Inside were 2 sleeping infants, twins, human Alari, hybrids wrapped in warmth, alive. A note was tucked beside them in 2 languages. If you are reading this, know they are not tools, not property. They are hope, and their parents will find them again. 6 months later, outer colony world, green sector settlement. Jack adjusted the new solar panel on the roof of the cabin and looked out over the ridge. The wind smelled like grass and dust. Peaceful. Inside, the kettle whistled. Valari stepped out, hair shorter now, dressed in plain worker clothes. A faint scar traced her jaw, one Jack kissed every night before sleep. She handed him a cup. "Still no word?" He shook his head. "They're laying low." "Good," she said, then gently touched her stomach. "We'll be ready." She was pregnant again, this time on purpose, by choice. Their choice. At night, they lay together beneath the stars. He would read Earth novels. She would hum old Alari songs, and sometimes, just sometimes, he would feel her twitch and whisper in her sleep. "I dreamed of them." Jack would hold her closer. Me too. And so it ended. Not with an empire's blessing, but with a choice. 2 warriors, 2 lovers. From 2 worlds, and a family born in fire. Because sometimes the most powerful thing in the galaxy isn't a weapon. It's a human who refuses to let go of love. *The end.